Close the door behind you. You're now in the green room.
I'm really glad to have you in here, Ellie. And in front of all the guys, I want to commend you for being the point person and running this process. You know, it's not easy to mobilize people. The first time we did this, it was not as smooth as this time, right? Because he was asking about the frequency of Caricollabs. And I was telling him, you know, we're learning and we're developing a process here and getting better at it.
Yeah, and I really would want to express even my gratitude for you guys coming on board as well. You know, you guys I've heard you played, and I see, you know, what you guys are capable of, and I feel really honored to even be a part of this process, to work and learn, you know, the ideas. Because as I say, I really didn't expect that track to take even the turn that it took, you know,
right,
with that as well that it took. And, you know, that was kind of my hopes, that you guys would just bring it out. And you guys did. And I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, man, for sure. So I think we can get started. If y'all don't mind, when I edit this, I'm going to include some of what we just said. Like, I'm not, because I want to include, you know, me shouting out Ellie for the effort and, you know, some of our initial introductions here. So if y'all don't have a problem with that, I'm going to keep that in the original, in the upload. But so guys, that means you guys have been watching us for a little while now. And this is a special edition of the Green Room. If you're familiar with Caribbean Cadence and you have seen a couple of episodes in the past, then you know exactly what the Green Room is. We want to welcome you to the Green Room. My name is Caddy Emmanuel. I'm your host, the founder of Caribbean Cadence, and I'm pleased to be part of what we call the Cadence Engine, which includes myself, Ellie, and Machaio Carter, from the nations of Jamaica, St. Lucia, Barbados. Caribbean Cadence is indeed very Caribbean. So that being said, I want to go around the room, give everybody an opportunity to just introduce themselves. We do not have the entire Caricollab, everybody who participated in the initiative with us here tonight, but we're very glad to have the ones that we do have on the call. So I'll start out with you, the drummer here. You can take the mic.
All right, to all the viewers, I'm Javier Jarvis, based in Antigua. I play drums. I've been playing drums since like about 5 years old. Started taking it serious at about 13. I try to play all the instruments, you know. I would say my second instrument is the steel pan, single tenor. I mean, apart from that, I really enjoyed working on this track with the other guys. And I'm looking forward to what's more to come in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. Daniel, you're up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I'm originally from Trinidad. I went to school in the US for a bit, and I'm now heading back up to the US, but born and raised in Trinidad. On the track, I played guitar. I've been playing guitar, like being around guitar, I would say maybe since I was 10 or 11. And then I think while I was going to school in the US, so the past 4 years or so, I started to take it a little bit more seriously, especially during the pandemic, because I guess my primary instrument is drums. but being inside all that time is a little bit more difficult, you know, with the noise and
Right.
whatnot. So started to play more guitar during that time, and definitely grateful for the opportunity to play on this track. I was really surprised. Like once I did my piece and other people started adding on the things they were able to add, I was really happy, really pleased, and really shocked by that. So yeah, definitely grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Ellie, you have anything to say to the folks?
Not much, but hi everyone. My name is Eliezer. Super. I'm currently based in Jamaica, but I was born in Trinidad as well. My parents are Haitian, so I kind of have a taste of different countries in the Caribbean. And yeah, I'm really glad to be here for the second edition, you know, of the Caricollabs launch, and really excited for you guys to hear, you know, what these guys came and put together. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I'm going to ask a couple of questions. I'm not going to stay on the line too long. I'm not going to take too much of your time. But the first one, it might put you on the spot a little bit, but it is, why did you participate in this collab? Like, why? so you can start.
Okay, so for me, yeah, that's that. So for me, personally, I mean, I guess since the whole pandemic thing, I've been getting more and more into the music. So it was like, hey, this is a great opportunity to play with other Caribbean musicians, so why not? You know?
Absolutely.
Like when I got the message, I was like, yeah, for sure. Like I didn't have to think about it. I was like, you know, get it done.
Yeah,
And let's see what happens.
All right. What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of similar, wanting to collaborate. I love live arrangements a lot, so I do a lot of them on my own, kind of like drum covers and live arrangements. But I usually kind of play everything myself and just kind of like program whatever instruments I can play live. And so I thought that this would be a really nice opportunity to collaborate with different people and be able to kind of learn from them and see what they bring to the table. And so yeah, once I saw it, I was like, yeah, this would be really cool.
Oh yeah. Ellie, you want to add anything to that?
I find it interesting, even with what Javier said, and when Daniel was introducing himself with how he got into guitar, that he said, you know, about the pandemic, and that I guess created time to go into their instruments or to explore different aspects of probably production, recording, and Daniel said that guitar is basically a second instrument, you know, so to even expand upon that, and you know, it's really out of the pandemic that I saw even a lot of more collaboration online coming forth, because you know, people would just get into the online things and, you know, reach out to one another. The main inspiration I got from this was with What's Your Take, with C-Dub, you know, where he would have just released a track and people just put their stuff on it, you know. And then out of my love for the Caribbean, I'm like, oh my gosh, it would be so incredible to just get different people from the different islands together and let them, you know, have fun and such. So yeah, I really value even this, and I guess, you know, out of the pandemic, I'm grateful for that the ability and the initiative to take and go forth with collabing with each and everybody in their own space, but able to come together and put together, you know, music that can even people would enjoy and such. So I find value really in that itself.
Oh yeah, I get that for sure. Now, another thing on my mind is I kind of want to know a little bit about any challenges that you might have faced in just working together and working in such a decentralized way. You know, people are, you know, very far away, so you can't meet together in one room. So what were some of the challenges there?
I think the only challenge per se would have just been the timing, right? Like I know for me, like I actually didn't get to start until like a week or so after, because at the time I was doing a training with Red Cross and so on. So that kind of threw me off a bit. But as soon as it was done, tried to get in as much as I could. I know with Jay, he works some funny hours. So I think sometimes he would be finishing work late and, stuff like that. So I think it was really just time, And I guess that's something we can't get away with all the time,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Daniel?
Yeah, I would say one kind of challenge was, I guess, just going about starting. Since we're all not in one room, it's not like we could like start to play a little bit and like feed off each other's ideas. It kind of had to be one person just kind of let the imagination run free, and then other people build on top of that, which ended up working out in this case. But that was kind of like an interesting way to go about things, not necessarily how you would do it in a traditional like real life band practice where everyone is there at the same time. So, and then for me personally, I think just at the time to really put in that effort and get the recording done, I felt like at times I was in a little bit of a slump in terms of, just like running the track and making the videos and all that. So just kind of getting motivated to really sit and do it. Yeah.
All right. Ellie, you want to add anything to that?
I guess with challenges on my part would have been, since I was like the more coordinative side, one, to get a track to like a song to base it off of, because the approach that we wanted for this one was like to take, a Caribbean song, a popular Caribbean song, and basically revamp it or re-edit it and such. So it was like one, to find one, which I'm grateful for Keddy, who came in and just threw in some suggestions as well. And then, when I finally even found that track, Savannah Grass, I was like, oh, this, it's more than a Caribbean track, because it's actually speaking about a monumental place, which is in Trinidad, and how significant it is to the country and such and such. So it was even just more taking the ideas from that simple track as well, and then just stripping it down to as much as possible to create the skeleton that I didn't want to be, I guess, too much of an influence, on your guys on the part, but like still to put together something that, the musicians can work off of and can, all right, I can see how the space, the ideas to come and such and such. So I think, yeah, that was one challenge that it took a while to even just put together that skeleton track, as I call it. And then, just that from that, it was simple. Like the approach was like, yeah, the challenges were gone from then, and I'm really grateful for the guys, because they were receptive. And, it's not, they have their jobs as well, or they have other engagements as well. So even when they find the time to go and put in the hours and put in the work to actually record and send through like that, even, I'm grateful for that they made that process even a lot more easier.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I get that. And now, before I open the floor, I want to, let's imagine, and I always do this on every green room, at least try to. Let's imagine that we're currently sitting on a panel with all the Caribbean musicians, all the instrumentalists under one roof. We're talking every single country. Everybody's there sitting in front of us. What are some words of advice or anything that you would have to say to this crowd?
I know at times being a musician can feel like the most challenging thing in the world, right? But just try best to stay positive. And even with this platform, with musicians around the Caribbean, I think it's much easier to stay motivated just by listening and seeing all these guys play their instruments. Like, I don't know, for me, when I see a guy dominating his instrument, trust me, that motivates me. It doesn't even have to be the same instrument that I play. Trust me, I just love to see it. It's really encouraging. And I don't know, it makes me happy, Yeah. So just try to stay positive, try to stay motivated, and just continue to put in the work.
Very good. Daniel?
Yeah, I would kind of echo part of that. Like, yeah, motivation can be, yeah, musician is being a hard thing. So motivation can be hard to come by in certain seasons. And so I would echo the sentiments of, just try to keep that motivation when you can. I would also say, just discipline. It's very hard. It's something I struggle with. I'm sure other people struggle with too. Practicing discipline is really, I would say, kind of one of the major keys. And so just a reminder to stay on that. And then lastly, I would say support one another, like almost above everything else, like make sure and create that community, support one another, be happy for one another. It's not necessarily to say like we need to be fighting each other down for a spot and for a gig and to try to get through above somebody else. I would say that it's very important to support one another, have jam sessions of people in the community, invite people out to come and play and try to just, foster and build that community. That's something I would like to see.
Oh yeah, very well said. Yeah. Ellie, you want to add?
I guess what I would say is, being from the Caribbean, we have been blessed to have this sound, and that's like my passion and that's my thing. And I would always reiterate it that don't be afraid to expound on the sound of what you would get while in your island, in your country. Don't be afraid to make it stand out and make it different. Because the Caribbean is not the rest of the world. And even within the island, St. Lucia would have a different sound than Trinidad, than Antigua and such. So I would say that's a tool, that we can use to create our space, to create our identity, to create the space that we'd want, as musicians. So don't shy away from it. We'll use it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And for me, if I were to add my own piece to that, it would be some words that Nicholas Branca from Barbados told me in the last episode of The Green Room, where he mentioned that it was his passion for Caribbean music to express multiple, the entire range of human emotion, and I thought that was very profound, and I'm really going to run with that, because you tend to find that, if we have a party or we have a session somewhere or something, we quick to run to soca music or, dancehall or whatever. But when we have a funeral or a wedding, we tend to play genres that are not really our own, And yes, I will admit that we do put our own spin on them often, especially if we're playing them. But I think we're capable of expanding our vocabulary and building new genres and even twisting the genres that we currently have to express even more than we currently express. And I think that's a beautiful idea and a beautiful thing. So shout out to Nicholas Branca. And now I'm going to really just open the floor. You guys can ask any questions you want to ask, anything you have on your mind. Ellie, if you want to take it away, whatever we're doing, the floor is open to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, not any questions per se. I mean, one thing that I think is kind of, from my experience, at least on everybody's minds, or kind of is a relevant topic, is what is the state of being a professional musician in my case, Trinidad, and well, the rest of the Caribbean? Because in my case, it seemed like it wasn't extremely feasible. Like a lot of the musicians that I know also have jobs on the side. And so seeing that kind of coming up, you ask yourself, is it really, possible to be a full-time music only, just full-time musician? So maybe you want to hear your thoughts on that. And
oh yeah, that's a great question, and I really enjoy that question. because
Definitely.
that's something that is near and dear to my heart. Because of course, as growing up in the Caribbean, what you hear from your parents, most of us initially is, you can't just do music. You can't just do that. You have to have something else, you know? And they say that from a place of love. And oftentimes it's actually the reality. Because in many of our small island developing nations, the economy really doesn't support professional musicians at this point. Um, However, and especially in St. Lucia, I can speak for St. Lucia, many people do make a living. I have friends that make a living from the tourism industry, right? But outside of the tourism industry, it's very difficult, you know? And it's my hope that as time goes on and our economies continue to move and grow, we'll have more options beyond the tourism industry. Because of course, we do have, production. We have, you know, I'm really big on churches starting to pay their musicians in the Caribbean. I'm very big on that. And in fact, I'm going to take this opportunity to tell a story because I'm big on storytelling. I have this guy that I know from St. Lucia. I won't say too many details, but the man is a great musician, a great musician. And I remember speaking to him one day and he didn't have an instrument. He had sold his instrument because, I mean, he was only playing in church. He didn't necessarily want to play at any of the hotels or anything like that. So he had sold his instrument and things were really rough. Things were hard. You know, he was trying to make ends meet. And, you know, he just gotten married and all these things. And it really broke my heart because, you know, I think, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but in the Bible, the Levites were paid, right? They were paid. And I think as musicians, if we hone our craft and for the level of contribution that we bring to services, I think some allowances can be made to pay our musicians. And that's common practice here in the US, like common practice. And there's a whole industry, like church musicians. There's some musicians that only play in church and that's what they do for a living, you know? So I'll leave that there.
Yeah, I would say I resonate with that in church, you know, paying with musicians. And another aspect, because I graduated college about 2 years ago, 2020. And I went to college for music. Like I knew from, I don't know, I was like in Form 3 and that was the time where I actually got into music. Like I just started playing. And then let's say there was like a career day and thing and they presented musician as an option. I was like, oh, okay, that's what I want to do. You know, and nothing could have taken me off that path at all. And then so I went on and I studied. I went to college, you know, for music here in the Caribbean, here in Jamaica. But when I got here, and I don't know how it is in Trinidad, which is where I would have wanted to go, but circumstances kind of had me here, it's a pretty excellent school, you know, at the Edna Manley College. But when I got here, I realized the scene and the music industry wasn't so black and white, I guess, or it wasn't so easy to just even go in, especially here in Jamaica. But it's like there are the hotel, the church, and then those that are already up there making it as a professional musician for the big artists. So even for those up and coming, you know, you kind of had to find your niche and had to find your way to kind of make it through, but because just the book smart wasn't gonna do it. So I graduated and it's like I'm even still currently in this thought process of figuring out, okay, how it is that you make it work as a musician full time, you know, because that's what you want to do. And it's like I come to realize that I wish there was this place that I could go that really just caters to musicians like that and just say, hey, we have a job for you, or, you know, sure, you can get a job here, and you know, and it was just so easy. But what I realized is that is like I have to become more than just a playing musician, so to speak, but avenues and ways that my ideas, or I don't know, sort of become an entrepreneur, so to speak, to create even ways. Because what I realize is that the it's still a developing industry, especially here in Jamaica. It's established for those that are older and those that have made something for themselves, but it's not something that the younger up and coming musicians can just walk into, you know. So it's like what I see is like there's this kind of space that has to be created, or this method, or you know, I don't know exactly what it is, but like this thing that has to be created that would usher the door open, whether it is through the hotel or the church. And because there are different aspects as to being a musician. You even have studio musician, you can record, you can get into producing, you can go online and such. There are different avenues. So it's like to kind of bring them out, explore them, and present, you know, and create the space so that musicians can know, okay, these are the options. And not only that these are the options, but as well to standardize them and monetize them so that they can actually, you know, make some money and get some bread so that they can go home and eat some supper. You get me? So it's like, basically, all of that to say, I realize that there's like a lot of work, I don't know, on my part. For me, for me to make it, because currently I have a 9 to 5 that is not music. You know, I have a job that puts something else, you know. But I would want to go into the music full time, and I can see how the different, even this being one of them, Caribbean Cadence, with connecting with musicians over the Caribbean. You know, I saw this as an opportunity, like, you know, not just with living as a musician full time, but even just creating a network and a space that would create that thing that gives the musicians the tools that they need, the resources that they need to make it, you know, as a 9 to 5 or as a full-time musician, basically. So I say that all to say is like it's you have to be smart about it, and you have to see the opportunities that are there, and you kind of have to know, I guess, the goal that you want to do, and then see the ways that you can go towards it. A lot of musicians migrate to the States even, and I guess that is an opportunity that if you have it, sure, go for it. You know, you can go there and get the resources over there, and I would even say even come back probably if possible, or, you know, do something that would also help the other musicians along the way or such. But basically, I feel like the music industry for the up and newcomers that wouldn't know a thing about how it works, it needs a space that educates, you know, more and provides, at least for where I'm at. I don't know how it is in the other countries. You know I always thought highly of the music scene in Trinidad and Tobago, but I haven't actually. By the time I got into music, I already left Trinidad. You know, but I know about Steel Pan, the Panorama. I know about the jazz scene there. I know about UTT even being there. So I don't know how it would be over there in itself, but I feel like just overall, you know, the music industry just needs that space that would be, I guess, friendly to the new and upcoming musicians. It's just a dream of mine, a bold dream, because the music industry rough.
Rough. It's true, man. As Javier said earlier, it is rough. It's not easy being a musician. But I think if the music is inside of you, you can't get rid of it. It's just who you are, you know. And so going back to your question, Daniel. And the way I answered it, I think a more simplified answer is, I think musicians in the Caribbean have to be creative. I think it's possible, but I think we just have to be more creative than folks in other economies. So as Ellie was saying, multiple streams of income, being versatile and considering multiple avenues, right? So you could do some production here, play at the hotel, and do something else, right? So you have 3 streams coming in to make your final pie, you know? And so I think that's important. And I think as time goes on, us, the current musicians of the Caribbean, we're blazing the trail and creating the path for future musicians. And I think that's important. And I think at the end of the day, you know, they'll be standing on our shoulders as we continue to grow the Caribbean music industry. Yeah, that's a very good question. And anyone else? All right, I see Ellie shaking his head. Well, folks, it was nice talking to you guys. Thanks again for joining us on another episode of the Green Room. I know we missed an episode here and there. There was a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes, but we're not leaving you. You know, I know you missed us, but we're not leaving. We're still here. So thank you so much for your patience. Thanks for bearing with us, and we will see you next month. Bye for now, and enjoy this Caricollab. Cheers.